afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good. I am Ekah, a Rotary Peace Fellow from the Macquarie University in Canada, Cambodia. And I am currently undergoing a course, IEP Ambassadors Program, and I'm here to engage in the IEP Ambassadors Challenge. Now, what do we mean by the IEP? The IEP is a non-profit organization, non-partisan organization, and a non-governmental organization based in Australia, and the IEP means Institute for Economics and Peace. It's an organization that is research-based, which means the organization carries out research and publishes research every year on peace. And interestingly, the research published by the IEP is consulted by over 6 billion people every month across the world. Consulted by governments, consulted by non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and of course international organizations like the United Nations Organization. And now, which are the 4 reports that are published by the IEP every year? Number 1, the IEP publishes the Global Peace Index, abbreviated GPI. It publishes the Global Terrorism Index, abbreviated GTI. It publishes the Ecological Threat Report, abbreviated ETR. And finally, the IEP publishes the Positive Peace Index. Now, I'm going to share with you briefly the 4 reports that are published by the IEP. The first report by the IEP is known as the Global Peace Index. What's the Global Peace Index? The Global Peace Index is a report published by the IEP that determines or evaluates the level of peacefulness in countries. As a matter of fact, this report groups countries according to their level of peacefulness, from the most peaceful country in the world to the least peaceful country. And it takes into account 163 countries. Now, as far as this report is concerned, what are the ingredients, what are the elements that are considered by the IEP to group countries according to their level of peacefulness? Number 1, it considers the level of social security and safety. How safe are the citizens in the different countries? Number 2, it considers the level of involvement of government in either internal or external conflicts. Number 3, it equally considers the level of militarization of countries. How far does the country invest in the military? What is the level of military sophistication? And what is the degree of readiness of war of the different countries? Now, it may interest you to know that in the latest report by the IEP, as far as the Global Peace Index is concerned, out of 163 countries, Cameroon was ranked number 149 in terms of global peace index of countries. So you can begin to imagine where your country is globally at the level of peace. Another interesting aspect to take note of, as far as the Global Peace Index is concerned, is the fact that the IEP evaluated the global economic impact of conflict, and it was evaluated at about 19.1 trillion US dollars was spent globally in 2024 in conflicts. That is a huge sum of money that would have been used in taking care of the economy of countries. We now move to the second report. The IEP publishes the Global Terrorism Index. And from there, we can get the word terrorism. What do you mean by terrorism? Terrorism can simply be defined as the act of terror or threats of violence on a country or on the citizens in the country. And now you realize that terrorism is real. It's a global phenomenon. It is going on in so many parts of the world. You must have heard of terrorist groups like the Al-Qaeda terrorist group, the Al-Shabaab terrorist group operating in East Africa and Somalia. You must have heard of the Boko Haram terrorist group operating in northern Cameroon, Chad, and Nigeria. And what are the aspects that the IEP considers in the Global Terrorism Index? Number 1, it looks at the occurrence or frequency of terrorist activities in the different countries, or terrorist acts in the different countries. Number 2, it looks at the facilities that are owned by the terrorist groups that are involved in acts. And number 3, the IEP report on terrorism looks at the number of people injured in the different countries and the number of hostages that are taken by terrorist groups. And here, you realize that based on the 2024 Global Terrorism Report published by the IEP, Cameroon was ranked the 10th country in terms of impact of terrorism. And I'm sure that is no news to us because we are all aware that our country for a very long period of time, the northern part of Cameroon has been constantly and persistently attacked by the people around terrorists. The next report published by the IEP is the Ecological Threat Report. The Ecological Threat Report by the IEP looks at the impact or the ecological impact on violence. As a matter of fact, it looks at how ecological factors like maybe consistent drought, consistent natural resources or natural hazard. How does natural hazard affect the business of the country? Countries that are persistently engaged or suffering from acts like drought, floods, water scarcity, of course, there is a high risk that those countries will be less peaceful. According to the IEP again, countries that do not have the means to be resilient to ecological threats, countries that are not able to face threats that are posed by such ecological factors, of course, those countries is a high risk of those countries to be increasingly less peaceful. I give a small example. If our country has a lot of rivers around and the government is not able to harness the resources of the river to make sure that potable and good drinking water circulates in the homes of the citizens, of course, the citizens will not live in peace. So, according to the IEP, as long as the ecology continues to constitute a threat to certain countries, there's a likelihood that those countries will be less peaceful. And the last report by the IEP is a positive peace index. Now, I want us to bear in mind here the fact that the IEP, or the founders of the organization, they got to realize that a lot of research has been carried out on the causes of violence in the countries, with very little attention paid on why some countries are peaceful. And that is why the founders of the IEP, they decided to go into findings. They carried out intensive research in countries that are peaceful. They had to investigate why is it that some countries are peaceful. What are the factors that make some of these countries be peaceful? As a matter of fact, after such intensive reports, the IEP realizes that the most peaceful countries in the world have some commonalities. They have some common factors in them. They have some common elements that makes them to be peaceful. And there are 8 of these elements. And those 8 elements now constitute what the IEP calls the 8 pillars of positive peace. What therefore are the 8 pillars of positive peace? The 8 pillars of positive peace, according to the IEP, are conditions that are able to make the country to be peaceful. These are conditions that when they exist in a country, that country, of course, is going to be peaceful. And I'll be sharing with you briefly the 8 pillars of positive peace. And at the end of it all, you are going to tell me which one of them resonates more with you, and of course, why. The first of it, and you all repeat with me what you see. I see here the first pillar, not in order of importance, in order, acceptance of the life of others. What do you see?
Acceptance of the life of others.
Perfect. According to the IEP, when the rights of every human being is respected, of course, it will be peace. You realize that the world is so much interconnected. People live differently in the different parts of the world. And if we do not respect the rights of others, of course, we will always be confused. In most of our environments, we are diverse. In our country, Cameroon, we have over 240 ethnic groups. We have 2 linguistic groups. Some are Anglophones, some are Francophones. We have different religious groups. Some are Catholics, some are Muslims, and the rest. And the moment we do not respect the rights of each person based on his or her diversity, then our community will have a difference. As a matter of fact, there are equally global rights that are expected to be respected in every country. And these global rights are enshrined in a very important document known as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was promulgated by the United Nations on the 10th of December 1948. Now, when every human being's right is respected, of course, we are going to live in peace. Bringing that to our community, in your classroom, all of us have our rights. We have our right to our privacy, and there are so many other rights that we have and that we enjoy as students of this school and as citizens of our country. I will make sure that we respect the rights of each and every citizen. Of course, there is no way we are going to live in conflict. Our society is going to be peaceful. The next pillar or positive peace pillar, according to the IEP, is equitable distribution of resources. What do you see here?
Equitable distribution of resources.
I want you to bear in mind that there are some countries that some few people are very rich. Why? Because they have access to resources. And they use the resources to their benefit to the point that a greater majority doesn't have access to resources. According to the IEP, therefore, when resources are equitably distributed in the country, ensured by the government, of course, there will be peace. When the citizens are able to have access to basic resources in the country, be it healthcare, be it education, be it justice, be it state institutions, of course, the country will be peace. In your school environment, there are some resources that have been enjoyed by every citizen. When I look out there, I say, is everybody having access to potable drinking water based on the water facilities that are available in your school environment? And we will make sure that all the resources in the school, within our economy, within the country, each citizen has access to it. Of course, our community is going to be very peaceful. The next pillar of positive things is low level of corruption. What do you see here?
Low level of corruption.
Low level of corruption, very good. According to the IEP, when there is low level of corruption in the country, that country is going to be peaceful. In some countries, government officials are so corrupt. In some countries, the corruption level remains very high. And in countries where the corruption level is high, peace is far-fetched. When the level of corruption is low in the country, ensured by the government, it makes the citizens to have trust in the government. It makes the citizens to realize that they can be able to access whatever resources they want without going through the means of corruption. And of course, in your school environment, how far do you ensure that there is no level of corruption? If in your school, you have to bribe before you are admitted, of course, you get exposed to a negative mindset. Not focus and be used. If in your school, corruption is practiced, maybe students buying maths or students trying to bribe their way in illegally with things that are not supposed to be in school, of course, that makes the peacefulness of the school to reduce. Because the moment some students realize that others are receiving favors because they are able to bribe or corrupt the officials in place, then our environment remains less peaceful. And therefore, we also respect or maintain peace in our school environment and in our country as a whole. Collectively, we should ensure low level of corruption. The next, high level of human capital. What do you see here?
High level of human capital.
High level of human capital. According to the IEP, if there is high level of human capital, the society will be peaceful. And human capital here has to do with the government investing in its citizens. You are all the human capital of the country. And how can the government invest in the citizens of the country? By ensuring that there are educational institutions, by ensuring that there are training institutions where the citizens can acquire skills. And once the citizens are able to acquire skills, they can be able to provide solutions to all the problems that are facing in their country. As young people who are growing up, as students of this particular institution, you should be able to take your homework serious because by being educated, of course, you are going to constitute the human capital of the country. Ensure that you acquire skills. When you are able to acquire skills, you will be able to solve problems in your community. Those who are skillful, those who are educated, and who are able to be resourceful within the country, there is no way that they are going to be involving themselves in acts of violence. And if you look at it critically, most of the people who involve themselves in acts of violence are those who are not educated. And therefore, in countries where the level of human capital is high, there is a probability that conflict level, of course, is going to be reduced. The next, Sound business environment. What do you see here?
Sound business environment.
Good. The IEP insists that for peace to reign in the country, there should be sound business environment. And what does it mean? Those who are business inclined, are they able to operate their businesses peacefully? Are the policies in the country permitting business owners to run their businesses successfully? And once there is sound business environment, those with entrepreneurial mindset, they will be able to engage in businesses and to succeed in businesses. And therefore, the IEP insists that every country should ensure that the business climate is okay, that the citizens are able to have access to the business environment. And of course, when that is the case, those of you who are business inclined, you may decide to make use of your entrepreneurial skills in business in order to develop our country. Most of the peaceful countries in the world, their business sector is very buoyant and in fact vibrant. And in that way, it will all contribute to the economy of our country through business. Of course, employment rates will reduce, hunger will reduce, we'll be able to take care of the families, and the level of peace will increase. The next, free flow of information. What do you see here?
Free flow of information.
Perfect. The IEP, one of its pillars, the free flow of information. What does it mean? According to the IEP, for peace to exist in the country, the government should ensure free flow of information. And how is free flow of information ensured in the country? By ensuring freedom of press. Are press organs free to operate? Do we have press organs like radio houses, television houses, newspapers, magazines, and the rest? And when those radio houses exist, or press organs, they should be able to be allowed to freely circulate information to the citizens. When the citizens are able to have access to information, they will be informed. They will know what is happening. They will be able to pursue their dreams. And in that way, the level of peacefulness will be reduced. But if we exist in a country where people don't have access to information, sometimes we hear of jobs only after the deadline to apply has already passed. It means that the information was not well circulated. And those who thought that they were qualified for that job, but they were not able to apply because they never got the information, of course, it will not be peaceful. But then, I bring it back to you as a student. Make use of the different sources of information that are available. In our country, Cameroon, we have so many sources of information. And added to that, the information circulating through the media, through the social media is equally useful. How far do you make use of information on the social media? So, be sure that the moment you empower yourself with the right information, you will be able to have access to what you want. Some people don't have access to what they want because they don't have access to that information. So we call on our governments to ensure free flow of information, and I also call on you all the students to ensure that you source for information that will be helpful to you. The next pillar, good relations with neighbors. What do you see here?
Good relations with neighbors.
Perfect. I like this pillar so much. By good relations with neighbors, the IEP is insisting that when countries are able to live in peace with their neighbors, of course, the societies in those countries will be okay. Cameroon, for example, should be able to live in peace with neighboring countries like Gabon, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Central African Republic. And once the neighboring countries are peaceful, of course, the citizens benefit. But then we can bring that to our local context. Everybody here is your neighbor. How far do you live in peace with a person close to you? When you are able to live in peace with your neighbors in class, then our school environment is good enough. When there is good relationship between your class and the next class is equally a neighbor. The class upstairs is equally a neighbor. And we will ensure that we are in good relationship with our neighbors, even those out of school. Then our environment is good. What about back at home? Within our household, with our neighbors in our neighborhoods where we live. If we live peacefully and have good relationship with them, of course, the society will be peaceful. And last pillar of positive peace, well-functioning government. What do you see here?
Well-functioning government.
Good. According to the IEP, for peace to be maintained in the world, governments should be well-functioning. Governments should be able to take into account the interests of the citizens. when the citizens vote their government, the government should be out for the people. The government voted by the people should be able to rule for the interests of the people. And how should that happen? The government should be able to make sure that the citizens are safe. The government should be able to make sure that the citizens have access to basic resources. The government should be able to make sure that every citizen in a country has access to institutions, has access to justice, access to human rights, and as a matter of fact, the citizens in the country will have trust and confidence in the government, and in that way, there will be peace in that country. But then, bringing that to our local context, all of you here constitute governments in one way or another. In your household, how do you manage your junior brothers and sisters? You are the one governing them. Are you managing them well to the point that the household is peaceful? Parents, how do they manage their households? That is where they govern. In school, how does the school administration manage the entire student body? And was the different people involved in different areas of government, but in whatever capacity, our environment, of course, will be peaceful. In your classroom, what is the governance system? I'm sure you have a prefect. How well does the prefect manage the class? In a school, people are high school students, pre-university students, and some of you are prefects. How do you govern your junior ones in school? And here you realize that when there is good governance at whatsoever level, our environment, of course, is going to be peaceful. Now, I just want to find out from you, is there any pillar that resonates with any of you, that any of you feel attached to, and why? Let's interact for a while. Don't stop it. Anybody? Yes. Good relations with neighbors.
We don't have countries fighting over boundaries if we are all alike. We don't have individuals fighting over particular things if they live.
Perfect. So she says she likes the point on good relations with neighbors. And that if you are all having good relationship with neighbors, be it individually and account for the good, then you are sure of peace. Is there another contribution? Yes. Yes, low level of corruption.
If there is low level of corruption, especially in a country like Cameroon, without problems like people sitting in for posts which they are not able to do. It's also linked like to well governance of the country. For example, because imagine someone sitting for a post which he paid for or right for to get a post, the person is going to exercise his or her work correctly.
Thank you very much. Now, we look here. We see an image of all the pillars connecting. And here, I want to understand that no particular pillar is very important than the other. All of these pillars have to exist together for a country to be peaceful. And that's why you see the middle piece. And you have all the pillars around. And each pillar has a string connecting it to the rest of the pillars. Which means that for a country to be peaceful, all the pillars should operate interconnectedly. I give a small example. For example, if there is low level of corruption, people will know how to bribe in order to operate businesses. If there is low level of corruption, people will know how to bribe to have access to institutions. People will know how to bribe in order to have information. Another example, if the government functions well, there will be equitable distribution of resources by the government. If the government is well functioning, they will ensure that information flows freely. If the government is functioning well, they will ensure that all the rights of the citizens are respected. And therefore, all the pillars are interconnected for peace to maintain the world. And therefore, my dear young brothers and sisters, young Cameroonians, I urge you all that promoting positive peace, respecting the 8 pillars is very important, both at government level and of course at individual level. And on this day, I call you all to put in your individual and collective efforts so that together we shall ensure that our society, our community, Cameroon, Africa, and the world at large remains very, very peaceful for you
and for me. Thank you very much for listening. Now we'll take some questions. Alright, yes. Okay, she's saying that according to the report, can we indicate some of the most peaceful countries? Alright. According to the IEP report of 2024, the most peaceful country was Iceland. And then the second most peaceful country was Ireland. And the third most peaceful country was Austria. Now, if we go to the bottom of the table, the least peaceful country in 2024 was Yemen. Go there is an empty way of war and violence. And then, after Yemen, we have Sudan. After Sudan, we have South Sudan. Those are the least peaceful countries based on the IP report of 2024. Is that question? Yes.
Okay, sir. After listening to all what you have said about the 8 pillars of positive, does that mean there exists negative peace? And if there exists, what is the difference now between positive peace and negative peace?
Thank you very much for that very intelligent question. He is asking that when we talk about positive peace, does it mean that there is negative peace? And if there is negative peace, what's the difference between positive and negative peace? Now, I want you to understand that the definition of peace has changed over time. Classically, in the days of old, researchers were defining peace as the mere absence of war. But now, the definition of peace has gone beyond the mere absence of war. There is this Norwegian peace expert by name Johan Galtung. Johan Galtung, in his research, realized that there are two forms of peace: positive peace and negative peace. According to him, there are some societies that are not involved in war, but then they are not peaceful. And therefore, peace is not just the absence of war. So, according to Galtung, negative peace is a situation whereby there is no war going on, but the citizens in the country, they are not living well, they are not satisfied, they are not happy. True, there is a complete absence of war. But are the citizens employed? Are the citizens having access to information? Are the citizens living in good relationship with each other? And is there something that the citizens are grumbling about? Is the economy so difficult for people to survive? Now, when there is no peace and some of these aspects exist in the country, we say that country is living in negative peace. Peace experts will call that latent conflict, because the citizens are not satisfied. And the slightest opportunity that they have, because there's something boiling in them, the slightest opportunity they have, they will easily resort to conflict. So that is negative peace. But now, what is positive peace? Positive peace is a situation whereby there is a complete absence of war, but in addition to that, the conditions in the country are that in which the citizens can survive with a lot of happiness. With positive peace, the society is characterized by justice. The society is characterized by human rights being respected. The society is characterized by good relationship with every citizen. The society is characterized by the individuals having access to all what they need. And of course, the society is characterized by all the 8 pillars that we have seen: well-functioning economy, free flow of information, high level of human capital, and in that way, we are talking about positive peace. So I want to think that we have learned today the difference between positive peace and negative peace. On that note, I would like to say that it was a very great session with you all. Thank you very much for your cooperation and collaboration. Thank you very much for the very intelligent questions that you have asked. Thank you very much for being so attentive, and thank you very much for having learned something today. And my greatest wish is that as we celebrate here today, as we move to our various homes and to the society, let us ensure that we carry along the 8 pillars of positive peace, such that by respecting and manifesting and practicing these 8 pillars, we are therefore contributing in our own little way to the peacefulness of our country, to the peacefulness of our continent, and to the peacefulness of the world at large. Thank you very much.